'cause that's the bottom line, 'cause Stone Cold said so.
What up, wrestling fans? FaceManBuddha. It is Monday, September 21st, 2015, a few hours after Night of Champions, which was Sunday evening. It's a wrap-up review on my opinion, which is also position, subjective. There was a pre-show, an hour long. Sheamus had done an excellent promo in that pre-show, which I thought was very good, one of his best ones, or one of the top ones he's done in a long, long time, so I was happy about that. Of course, that was done backstage. After that, there was another short promo that was done by Kevin Owens, which he was talking about his match with Ryback. It was short and sweet, but good. And then there was a very horrid promo on Nikki and Charlotte match, which for me was hard to watch. They were selling Nikki, of course, and her championship, and she's this amazing champion and so decorated and defended her belt left and right, and she's just the leading female in wrestling, and they're just going on and on and on. It's just, for me, it's rather nauseating. I've really gotten to a point I'm just sick of them. Even as people, I'm kind of disliking them as people. I know they play characters, but their characters are characterless. Therefore, they're boring, and I think some of their personality does come out in their characters. I do think Nikki is very vapid in a lot of ways. Brie seems to be a little bit more mature, but these are mid-30-year-old women. I think they're 31, 32, 33, and they literally, I thought they were in their early 20s, like 20, 21, and they really act like they're about 14 or 15. What's important to them is really just simplistic, childish things. But anyway, it just sounds like I'm bashing them. I'm not trying to bash them. I'm really unfond of them or non-fond of them, and just sick of seeing it. So this promo was very hard to watch. It seemed like to go on forever. It was probably like a 5 or 6 minute promo. It wasn't good promo. It just showed how bad Nikki was. After that, there was a promo with about Ziggs and Rusev about their match. Then there was another promo that was the New Day about their match with the Dudleys, and they did some Q&As with the about that people asked, supposedly, I guess, tweeting, and they were asking questions. It was an okay promo. It wasn't anything great, but it was all right. And they started chanting "Save the Tables," and that was the end of their promo. Then the pre-show or kickoff show match, which you can call a dark match, but I don't know if dark match means after the show. Usually dark matches are after the show, but this was the one that was on. I just mean dark match in the sense that it wasn't, it was paid for. I mean, people saw it at the show and all that, but some people weren't watching. Some people didn't come in until, just before the real show started. But anyway, it was the Ascension and Stardust against Neville and the Lucha Dragons. It was actually, decent match, nothing great. It was a, decent way to start off the show. The pay-per-view was all right. Nothing that special. The Ascension and Stardust won. Stardust had his Queen's Crossbow, which finished the match off on Neville. Then the Wyatts had a promo about Ambrose and Reigns, which was a decent promo as well. After that, Night of Champions started, and it was Kevin Owens and Ryback which was for the IC title, the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know why I said Intercontinental Championship. It had some good ring psychology. Owens was working on the left arm, elbow, or shoulder of Ryback. Ryback really sold it fairly well. It was pretty good on that sense. And the fans were, into it to a certain extent. They weren't, ape shit over the match, but at least they weren't falling asleep or doing other cheers. Owens ended up winning when Ryback had him up on his shoulders and he was about to do the shell shock. Owens raked his eyes because they had their backs to the ref, so the ref was looking at their backs, in other words. So Owens wins. He becomes a new Intercontinental Champion, which is good, which is what I was saying should happen. After he raked the eyes, he got Ryback in a very short, small roll-up, 1, 2, 3 count. Ryback was holding his eyes, so he got the win. Glad he won. I think it'll bring more prestige back to that championship, and he just is a better character when he has gold on, and like he says, he's the prize fighter, so now he's got his prize. So I was happy about that. Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen to Ryback. He should be getting a rematch, but I think if they're going to do a rematch, they really have to build a better story between the two, in my opinion. Then there was Dolph Ziggler and Rusev, which were the next match. Summer Rae got thrown out when she tried to interfere with the match. She ended up throwing one of her heels down the ramp, and then she tried to throw one, I guess, at the referee and missed and hit Rusev in the face, which somehow almost knocked him out. And I'm kidding. And he got zigzagged by Dolph. Dolph wins. It was an okay match, decent. Again, nothing great. Finally, after that, there was New Day versus the Dudleys. This was an okay match. Had a decent pace to it, decent meter, whatever you want to call it. Woods had some funny moments in it. He played the Rocky theme, which was pretty funny for the moment. And then Woods was interfered, rather, and he didn't try to. He actually interfered, and with him interfering means that the match got disqualified, or there was a disqualification because of his interference. So the New Day retained or held on to their titles. At the end, Woods ended up getting 3D'd through a table, which was funny because Big E actually told Woods to get the table, and they put the table there, and then they reversed the roles, and the Dudleys got the better, the upper hand, and 3D'd Woods through a table. He made a funny face as he flew through the air, crashed through the table. Decent match. I guess there will be a rematch for the titles, or the Dudleys will be in the mix. It was pretty good, so that was cool. Then, unfortunately, we had probably the worst match, Nikki and Charlotte. Nothing against Charlotte. I think Charlotte was good in it. She sold her knee, like tweaking her knee, very good in it. She was very good with selling that and showing pain and being in stress on her face. So she did really well. But the match overall, in my humble opinion, sucked because Nikki is so slow. And, every time she does a move, the person is literally standing still, and there's very little movement. She's so static in the ring, meaning she's just like, moves and stops, moves and stops, moves and stops. There's no flow with her. There was no story being told. Some of the things, well, there was, but the reason why I say there was no story being told is because there was nothing original about the story that they were trying to tell, or that Nikki was trying to tell. In my opinion, Nikki actually was biting off of Sasha at least 2 times or 3 times in the match. First thing, she did a double knee, I think it was, onto Sasha's leg, which was a copy of when Sasha does her double knee on the people's stomachs and knocks them down to the ground. She did that with Charlotte's leg. She put it up there and then did the double knee or a knee onto that. So it was a real cheesy ass bite onto Sasha. They were trying to do, again, I guess, like I said, the ring psychology by working on Charlotte's leg, which was good. If it would have been someone like, maybe even Paige, but definitely Sasha or Bayley or Natalya, then the story would have been told much better. But Nikki can't tell a story in the ring. I give her credit for trying, but it still sucked. It wasn't good. She couldn't do it well. If it wasn't for Charlotte selling it so well, it would have came across really bad. So for me, it didn't translate. The crowd wasn't into it at all, in my opinion. They were very quiet. There was absolutely no heat on Nikki for whatever she was doing, and she tried to, raise her hands. Or when I say try, she raised her hands and she was trying to get the fans to boo her. They didn't care. There was really no response to it. She also did a suplex by taking Charlotte and suplexing Charlotte not once but twice into the ropes, just like Sasha did to Bayley. So that was like 3 bites right there on things from Sasha, which again I thought was very cheesy. To copy things straight up of Sasha. It's a compliment to Sasha and their match, but it's cheesy in the sense that it shows how Nikki cannot tell a story at all in the ring and literally just spit a couple moves that got some oohs and ahs in that match because there was about 2 wrestlers, which Nikki is not. She's not a wrestler. Finally, besides the match being too long, in my opinion, there's probably, I guess, only 10 or 12 minutes, but it seemed to go on longer than that just because it's so slow because of Nikki. It should have been a shorter match. Charlotte ends up winning by getting her in the figure 8, meaning Nikki in a figure 8. Nikki submitted. Nikki didn't sell the submission at all very well. She tapped out fairly quickly, which is fine, but she just didn't sell it well. It just looked like, Charlotte was bridging herself and had her in a figure 4, and Nikki was just, slamming the ground a couple times. Waving her hand around and then slamming the mat a few times, and that was the end of it. It was a real, just crappy ending. It would have been good if there was a better story told, but again, there wasn't, so I don't want to talk about the match anymore. It wasn't a very good match. After that, we had a promo backstage with the Intercontinental Champion, Owens. It's a good little short promo. I was talking about how he's got his prize back. I'm happy for him. That was really one of the best things of the night, was really his match and getting the championship. After that, some of the matches were all right, and then the Nikki match, Charlotte match, was just not good. Happy for Charlotte, just wasn't a good match because of Nikki again. Then after that, we had a promo again of the Wyatts and Reigns and Ambrose, which was the same one in the pre-show. And just prior to the Nikki match, we had the promo again. I forgot to mention that. They showed the promo twice, so I turned the volume off and was watching some other stuff until, messed around online for the 4 or 5 minutes that promo ran, and it was about 5 minutes. Couldn't stand watching it. Couldn't stand it the first time. Couldn't stand it the second time even more. Then they had the Wyatts versus Ambrose and Reigns, and everyone's waiting for the mystery character, and it was Jericho. And the funny thing is, Jericho got a huge pop, and which was surprising to me, and fans were really happy he came out. I like Jericho a lot. Y2J is cool. However, I really think it would have been a lot better to have Daniel Bryan come back, but now I'm starting to think maybe his concussion syndrome, maybe that was true, where the doctors in WWE are not letting him back in or don't want him to come back in because they're afraid of him being hurt. So then the rumors of Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson's career being over might be true. I hope not. I really wish he would have came out. It would have made much more sense. They tried to sell, Jericho and Wyatts had a steel cage match last year. And it wasn't a very good match last year, and I really think it was just rather idiotic. I like Jericho. I just don't think it made any sense. This is my opinion. He had okay pace, the match. There were some decent spots in it. Strawman, whatever his name is, that big dude, was like 800 pounds. He ended up choking out Y2J. Y2J tapped himself in before Reigns could do the Superman punch. Reigns was on a roll. Y2J tagged himself in, which right then you knew as soon as he tagged himself in that they were going to lose. So he ended up getting submitted. That was the end of it. And then at the end of it, Y2J did a double shoulder bump push past Ambrose and Reigns, leaving them standing in the ring like, what just happened? It was an okay match, nothing great. Again, I think they kind of made the mistake of choosing Jericho. Again, Bryan would have been a better choice, but I guess he's hurt. So, Rock might have been better, but it wouldn't have made sense. Owens would have made more sense. Rowan, whatever his name is, Eric Rowan. That would have made more sense for him to come back. However, it wouldn't have been a big deal, but whatever. So another not too great of a match, but okay. The thing after that, or the next thing after that, was a backstage promo with Triple H and Stephanie with Rollins, giving him a vote of confidence, and he was like, yeah, why I am the man, and he walked off, and then Sheamus popped in and said, yeah, he's ready, because that's what Stephanie and Triple H were saying about Rollins, and then he said, so am I, and I think he tapped his Money in the Bank briefcase, his gold Money in the Bank briefcase, and sauntered off. After that, we had our last two matches. We had John Cena, JC versus Seth Rollins for the United States Championship match. Surprisingly, it actually had a good pace. I would say thanks to Seth Rollins. I think he made the pace of that match. He did some good spots. The fans were pretty much into it. Like I said, the spots were good. He did a nice frog splash, which is nice, paying homage to Eddie, and the fans started chanting, Eddie, Eddie. He had a beautiful frog splash. He also did a double suplex. He did one off. I don't know if it was off the top rope. I think he was on the second rope, and Cena might have been off the top rope, so he did a suplex. Then he did a somersault over Cena. Like once Cena landed on the ground, he rolled over him and then picked him up and then flipped him and did like a flat or pancake suplex. That's not the right word, but he did basically two suplexes in a row, which was cool. Another good spot by Rollins. Then after that, Super Cena comes back. He does his leg drop a la Hulk Hogan, does his double A, gets the pinfall. Cena wins the match, becomes the United States champion. Then Rollins tries to leave. Cena tells him, you got one more match. You think you're the man. He ate him on the outside of the ring. He smashed into the ground, obviously on the mat. And then he threw him back in the ring. And then Sting came out and had a match. That was the culmination or the main event, Sting and Rollins. It seemed to appear towards the end of the match that Sting actually tweaked his back because he got thrown into the ropes for the second time. I don't know if it was whiplash that he got. His neck and head did snap back. If he was faking it, he sold it really well because but I don't think it was a fake thing because he seemed to be a little like, I don't know if he blacked out for a split second and then he had like vertigo, meaning like everything was moving and he kind of felt off balance because he looked to stumble a little bit, and Rollins started to come in, and he stopped, and he looked at him, and I think he mumbled or whispered something to him. It looked like he tried to say something like, "You okay?" or "Is everything all right?" And then the ref jumped in, and then there was a doctor who came in. The ref gave a signal to the doctor, not the X sign of like something serious, but come in. They pushed Rollins away, and you could see the referee saying, mouthing words to him. I don't know what he was saying. I think he was like, he's a little, out of it, or he might have blacked out for a moment. But it seemed that he actually tweaked his back. It might have been, like I said, a blackout. He seemed to have some pain, and then when he put Rollins in the sharpshooter, I think it was a sharpshooter, meaning Sting, he didn't sit back on it. He was leaning forward. It was a very awkward positioning that he was in, body posture. So I think Sting might have actually injured himself. Hopefully he didn't. If he didn't, it was just great selling because it really appeared he did. If he did hurt himself, I hope it's not anything severe. Hope it's just a tweak, or he had suffered like a little stinger. Could be, also that he's, I guess, in his mid-50s or pushing 60, and when you get thrown at that turnbuckle, it's actually quite dangerous for anyone, and I guess, it looked like his head kind of snapped back. But I could be wrong. Again, it could just be him acting and selling an injury. But it looked like he really tweaked it, and the match didn't last more than about 2 or 3 more minutes after that. I kind of got the visceral feeling that it ended rather abruptly, so that's why I think he actually did kind of hurt himself. Then Sheamus, because Rollins was supposedly tired, Sheamus came out, and he got actually a pretty decent pop, and it looked like he was going to cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, but it was nullified because then, boom, thunder and lightning. I'm kidding, it wasn't thunder and lightning, it was fire and brimstone. Kane came out, he returned as a Demon Kane, which was good. Fans, gave him a decent pop for that. He choke slammed Seth Rollins. Then Sheamus was trying to tell him, like, choke slam him again, and then I'll boot him. He was trying to get Kane to do some dirty work for him so he could cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase, which I thought would have been funny if they would have done that. But no, Kane then grabbed Sheamus, choke slammed his ass to the ground. Then he picked up Seth Rollins and he tombstoned him. And that was the end of the pay-per-view. Overall, to me, I don't think it was that great of a pay-per-view. I don't think it was horrible, but on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe a 6, 7 at best. I'd really say like a 6, 6.5. The matches were all right. The paces of the matches were okay. Nothing was really flowing well. There wasn't really any great pops. There weren't really any great spots. There wasn't any really great storytelling being done. It was just, an average pay-per-view. To me, it was more like a Raw, but I don't know, maybe other people say it was really great, but anyway, I thought it was okay. Nevertheless, here's a picture of Charlotte after she won. Ric Flair was there. He was crying a little bit. Some of it seemed like he was trying to cry, but I don't know, maybe he was actually really happy. Charlotte seemed happy, but to me, Charlotte was much more emotional when Bayley won, and she witnessed their match. She seemed to be a lot more emotional about that than this. I think maybe that might have meant a little bit more to her in a way, actually, seeing her friend Bayley win. This is Bayley and Charlotte. The champ, Bayley. It's Bayley! And Charlotte. It's a good picture of them. They look happy, so that's cool. I'm happy for Charlotte. I just wish they would change that belt and get rid of this Monarch programming, butterfly programming. If you don't know what that is, you should look up Monarch programming, Sex Kitten programming, MK Ultra programming. I know it's off base, off subject, but there is a reason why they use a butterfly for this, and it's not a good thing. But anyway, I wish they would change it to the Women's Championship, but I don't think they will, because the Fabulous Moolah was one of the last women champions, and I think she was a champion for like 28 years or some craziness like that, almost 3 decades, which is why they changed it to Divas. But maybe they can abridge it and make it the Women's Divas Championship or the Women's Title or something like that. Maybe they could change it. I really think they should go to Women's Champion now that they have actual female wrestlers, and get rid of the Divas. Good picture of Owens and Ryback before their match. This is Owens winning his belt with Triple H, of course. Just so you know, this is the sign of the devil. I know, again, it's off base of what wrestling is, but there's actually a lot of, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of satanic symbolism in wrestling, as well as Illuminati, which is also satanic. Again, that's digressing, but this is the devil sign that they have to show. But anyway, another picture of that. And you could get into the WW, but I won't as well. I don't want to digress too much. Kane tombstoning Seth Rollins in his white pants, his white attire, which is funny. I think it looks better without the shirt, personally. Cena, I knew he would get his championship. I think things would have been better if they would have actually had, instead of Charlotte winning, I think it would have been better to have Nikki win it. just because I don't think Charlotte's going to hold on to it for too long. But the good thing about Charlotte winning it is if she wins it, now you could have Sasha and her go at it. But of course, Nikki will probably get her rematch. But I'm hoping the Bellas disappear for a while, for at least a couple months, and we don't see or hear from them, and they just basically just sign themselves out or whatever, or resign or whatever. But I think in a way it would have been better if Nikki would have won. Not that I wanted her to win, just because then she could have gotten her ass beat by Sasha. But anyway, Sasha's probably going to be the next champ, but I'm happy for Charlotte winning. Then there was the Dudleys that came out. I think it would have been better if the Dudleys would have won to get more heat rather than a stupid disqualification, but I understand that because then the Dudleys didn't really lose and New Day still looked strong. So I understand that story writing there. So I can agree with it that it wasn't stupid. However, I just think it would have been better if they would have given it to the Dudleys and let them hold the belts for like a few weeks or 1 month and help build up some, turning the New Day into a face, complete face. I think that would have been better personally, in my opinion. But that's just my opinion. There's Kane, the Demon, coming back. So again, overall, decent. I would have done things a little bit differently. Wasn't that great of a pay-per-view. I'm more looking forward to the NXT TakeOver, which is the next pay-per-view, which is next big wrestling event, which is October 7th. I think it's a Saturday. I think it's coming from Houston, Texas, from what I recall. Again, it's October 7th. That's the Sasha Bailey 2, kind of like Ali Frazier 2. So I think that'll be a much better show. Anyway, thanks for stopping by and tuning in. Be well. Namaste.